Hey everybody, now I'm going over my white EDH deck. It is Kambal, Consul of Allocation. This is my second possible commander. Taking into consideration that Karloff would have been the commander, but then a friend of mine really emphasized on the fact that other than really big beater, Karloff doesn't really do that much. I mean, if he has like 6 counters on him, he'll be an 8/8, and to remove 6 counters just to exile a creature is not something that you really want to do. So I went this other route of, using Kambal instead. You play him, then whenever opponents cast non-creature spells, they lose 2 life and you gain 2 life. So this gets you far ahead really fast. In several other games I've been in, my opponents were down to 20 something, 26, 28 at best, and then I'm up to 60 something along those lines. So Kambal is really good, and I really like the fact that he's, as a commander, it means that you can play him anytime you want from the command zone. So you always have access to him. And once you play him down, people have to sort of get rid of him. He's kind of like the black-white version of Ristic Study. Well, not exactly, but just the idea that if he sits there too long, he's just going to gain way too much value. So going through the lands first, I am running 36, I believe. So I'm running the 2 cheap fetches, the Evolving Wilds Terramorphic Expanse, Esther Panorama, Warp Landscape, and Terramorphic Moraine. I'm running these mostly just for the landfall. I have one card that cares about landfall. I'll get into it a bit later. And at the same time, it does some minor thinning, color fixing, so all that good stuff. Then the next 3 lands is Glimmer Post, Radiant Fountain, and Seraph Sanctuary. They all do pretty much the same thing. They come into play untapped. They tap for colorless. 2 of these guys tap for 1 life, and then third one taps for 2 life. So, if Karloff was the commander, it's like a free value because he doesn't care about how much life you gain in one shot, but rather incrementals work really well. So you play this land when you have Karloff if he's the commander, and then you just get those instant counters on him. Then the next 3 lands is High Market, Starlit Sanctum. So I didn't mention this before, but the rest of the deck, other than the 2 advisors I've shown at the start, are all clerics. So it's running along the idea of the undead Hierophant, or the human Hierophant, so to speak. And pretty much all the clerics are doing their bidding. So it's a very religious-oriented type deck, or that's what I'm trying to go for. So High Market and Starlit Sanctum does pretty much the same thing. You sacrifice a creature at Starlit Sanctum, you sacrifice a cleric, and you gain life equal to the toughness, or you sacrifice a cleric, target player equals to the cleric's power. So these are more of just enablers. I mean, you're not going to play these over and over and kill people. Ideally, you just do it one shot. We'll get into that later. So last but not least, Westvale Abbey, it creates cleric tokens, and most of the clerics in the deck are between 1 to 3 mana. They're really, really, really easy to play, and there's I think outside of the 2 commanders I've shown you in this, I mean Rare Combo and and a Karloff, there's about 26 clerics, so it's relatively easy to trigger Westvale Abbey as well. So you can sacrifice 5 creatures, tap this, and tap another 5 to transform into a demon. Then I'm running Scrubland, Godless Shrine, Caves of Coruscant, Isolated Chapel, Orzhov Basilia, Tainted Field, Temple of Silence, Conceded Courtyard, Shambling Vent, Scoured Barrens. It's nice, this also gains a life, and Command Tower. These are about 11 lands, I believe. Should see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so 11 lands that tap for both black and white, and that's pretty important. Very often in non-green decks, you really want to have some level of consistency, unless even if you do run fetches, it doesn't help that much. So the rest is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 swamps and 7 plains to finish off at 36. So the next I'll go into would be, let's look at removal. So I really wanted to make a black-white deck because it's not something that I normally play. I rarely play decks without green. I just love green way too much. But the best thing about black and white is that they have the strongest answers other than Counterspell in the game. So starting off at 1, we have Swords to Plowshare, Path to Exile. They both get features. They're the best. Even if, they're just the best. I mean, if you're running white, you have to run both of these. So 1 removes it, opponent gains the target player gains the life equal to the power. And this one, Path to Exile, you just remove it, they give them a basic land. It really doesn't matter. You get rid of a problematic creature. Declaration in Stone is similar, except it is a sorcery And nice thing about it is that it can get rid of tokens. If people mass a lot of tokens of some kind, it gets rid of it as well. So it's just more redundancy, more ways in the 99 to answer like a problematic situation. So this deals with creatures as well. Revoke Existence, it's in here because it's nice in the way that, you know, it exiles target artifact or enchantment. This is a sorcery similar to Declaration in Stone, but there's really no way around it for white. I mean, if you want the instant version, you have to pay 1 mana more, and the mana situation is really rough once again for non-green decks. So it's always best to curve down as much as possible. Anguish Unmaking, the best removal in EDH in my opinion. It gets rid of anything. I mean, lands, yeah, I mean, lands could be a problem, but most of the time the things you really want to care about are the non-lands. So Anguish Unmaking, they was able to that. Ashes to Ashes, I don't see people running this a lot, but it's very interesting. I found out about it and I'm like, oh great, I really want to try it out. So what it does is that it removes 2 target non-artifact creatures. Yeah, it's pretty specific. Non-artifact creatures, but it's 2 of them. It removes them from the game and deals 5 damage to you. So I'm gonna mess around with this and see what values it can bring me. Other end is just same as Anguish Unmaking, more redundancy. It's at 4, and yeah, they're both instances, so that's nice. Return to Dust, remove 2 artifacts and enchantments most of the time when you're doing a main phase. Then Damnation and Wrath of God. Like, you have to play these 2 cards if you're playing black and white. This they're just great cards and are also in favor. You know, one black sun and one white sun. So these are the answers. Moving on to the ramp. There's not too much ramp because once again, outside of green and because most of my things are curved down, I didn't really feel like I needed more than, you know, a few ramps. So there's, of course, the Soul Ring, there's the Orzhov Signet, Crystalline Talisman. You tap it to, it's at 3, you tap it to get 1 to your mana pool and you gain 1 life. That's really nice. There's Tithe, Gift of Estates, and Land Tax. So these are kind of the standards. If you're running white in a non-green deck, you would want these to bring you like as much value as possible, thin out your deck. It really thins out by a lot, especially if you play Land Tax. Then here there's like, yeah, there's 4 cards that sort of pseudo draws. So Greed, you pay 2 life, you pay 1 black, you draw a card, good value. Underworld Connections and Phyrexian Tower, they both draw you 1 card. Not gonna talk too much about this, except this one needs to tap a land. Vampiric Rites it's nice. It gains you life as well as draw a card, and sometimes you just want to sack a creature. But like once again, there are ways you can recur back to creatures, so we don't need to care about this too much. Expedition Map is the tutor for the special lands that we looked at before. Demonic Tutor is the tutor for any card, and Idyllic Tutor. I'm only running these because I want it to completely replace itself, because a lot of the time you're running at sorcery speed for this specific deck, so you don't, the instant isn't really that necessary. I mean, I could put in, you know, Vampiric Tutor and whatnot, but didn't feel necessary, and also don't have those cards, so unfortunately I'm just playing these. So these 3 are my tutors.